Sometimes life pulls you in so many directions that you forget the most important responsibility you've ever been given. The responsibility to save your own soul. We live in a world where we are constantly trying to fix everything around us. People, situations, relationships, outcomes. Yet the heart within us remains unattended, unprotected, and unheard. You cannot rescue the world while drowning inside. You cannot carry others when your own foundation is cracking. There comes a moment when Allah calls you back to yourself. Not out of selfishness, but out of divine wisdom. He reminds you that your heart, your faith, your inner life is an amana, a trust. When you begin to lose yourself trying to please people, trying to meet expectations, trying to be strong for everyone, you are abandoning the one soul you will stand before Allah for, your own. Saving yourself means returning to the place where faith begins, the heart. It means choosing what brings you closer to Him even when it's hard, walking away from what harms you even when it's familiar, and trusting that the journey inward is the journey upward. Healing starts when you stop running from your truth. Strength arrives when you surrender your fears to Allah. If peace begins when you guard your heart the way He commands you to. And salvation comes when you realize that no one in this world can save you except the one who created you, sustained, and watched over you even in the nights you cried alone. So save yourself, not by isolating, but by remembering. Not by hardening, but by returning. Not by giving up, but by giving your heart back to the one who never left you. Prioritizing your soul is your primary responsibility before Allah, because at the end of every journey, every achievement, every heartbreak, and every moment of life, it is your soul that will stand alone before Him. No one will carry your deeds for you. No one will answer on your behalf. The people you tried so hard to please, the world you exhausted yourself to keep up with, the expectations that drained you, none of them will matter when your soul is questioned. We live in a time where everything external is glorified. We are taught to chase success, to perfect our appearance, to curate our image, to pour endless effort into what people. But Allah reminds us again and again that what truly defines us is what lies within the heart that remembers Him, the intentions that are sincere, the struggles we endure quietly, the faith we protect even when no one is watching. When you neglect the nourishment of your soul, you begin to feel lost, empty, restless. Nothing satisfies you, nothing grounds you, nothing brings peace. That discomfort is not a punishment, it is a divine signal. It is Allah calling you back, urging you to return to the sanctuary of faith to rebuild what life slowly eroded. Prioritizing your soul means choosing Allah over temporary distractions, over unhealthy attachments, over desires that weaken your heart. It means spending time with Him in prayer, in reflection, in dua, even when the world pulls you away. It means letting go of what harms your spirit, even if it feels difficult or unfamiliar. It means trusting that what you feed your soul with will shape the quality of your life, your relationships, your decisions, and ultimately your eternity. So many people live decades chasing what shines, only to realize too late that they have abandoned what truly matters. But Allah, in His mercy, leaves the door open no matter how far you've wandered. He never turns away the one who returns to Him sincerely. Prioritizing your soul is not an act of withdrawal from the world. It is the only way to navigate it with clarity, strength, and peace. When your soul is connected to Allah, you become anchored. You stop seeking validation from people because you already feel seen by the one who knows you completely. You stop chasing what is temporary because you recognize its fragility. You stop fearing loss because you trust the one who writes every decree with wisdom. And you stop feeling alone because you finally return to the one who has been with you through every moment, guiding you, protecting you, and waiting for your heart to come home. You cannot fix others while neglecting your own heart, because every soul carries its own weight, its own wounds, its own journeys. And no matter how deeply you care, no matter how desperately you want to lift someone from their darkness, you cannot pour from an empty vessel. We often convince ourselves that helping others is a sign of strength, a sign of compassion, and it is. But not when it costs you your own spiritual well-being. Not when your heart becomes the sacrifice. There is a quiet exhaustion that comes from constantly trying to be someone's savior, from holding the broken pieces of everyone else's life, while ignoring the cracks in your own. And somewhere along the way, you forget that you, too, are a human being in need of healing, guidance, and rest. Allah never asked you to fix people. He asked you to care, to support, but He never placed their salvation in your hands. That power belongs to Him alone. When you try to change what only Allah can change, you drown in expectations that were never meant to be yours. You burn out. You become emotionally drained, spiritually disconnected, and mentally overwhelmed. You begin to carry burdens that were not written for you, while the heart Allah entrusted you with grows weaker and more neglected. The truth is, people will take from you endlessly if you let them, not out of malice, but because they are searching for relief, searching for someone to hold them together. But you cannot be their anchor if you're not anchored yourself. You cannot guide them to Allah while you're drifting away from Him. You cannot speak light into their lives while yours is dimming. Saving others starts with saving yourself first. Healing others begins with healing your own heart. When you strengthen your connection with Allah, when you guard your prayers, your boundaries, your emotional energy, you become someone who gives from overflow, not emptiness. Your presence becomes soothing. Your words become sincere. Your guidance becomes rooted in wisdom, not desperation. And when you step back from trying to control outcomes, you allow Allah to do what only He can do in their lives. Sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do is step back and let Allah take over. Sometimes the most loving action is to protect your heart from being drained by battles that aren't yours to fight. Sometimes the greatest mercy is redirecting your energy toward the one heart you are responsible for, your own. Because when your heart is whole, connected, and nourished, you inspire without trying, you influence without effort, and you lead others by the quiet example of your own transformation. And the truth is, when Allah wants to guide someone, He will, not through your force, not through your exhaustion, but through His wisdom. Your role is to stay upright, stay sincere, stay connected, so that your presence becomes a reminder, not a rescue mission. You cannot fix others while neglecting your own heart, because your heart is the place where your intentions are born, where your faith lives, and where your strength comes from. And when that heart is protected and filled, you become a source of guidance, not by saving others, but by letting Allah save you first. Returning to Allah begins with guarding and healing your inner world, because the journey back to Him is not measured by the miles your body travels, but by the transformation your heart undergoes. We often think that change starts on the outside, by altering routines, shifting environments, or adjusting habits. But true spiritual return is an inward awakening. It is the moment you recognize that the state of your heart determines the state of your life. Every act of worship, every moment of clarity, every step closer to Allah begins with what you allow into your inner world and what you choose to remove from it. Your inner world is where your intentions grow, where your fears whisper, where your desires battle, where your faith either thrives or withers. It is a sacred place, meant to be kept pure and protected, yet it is often the most neglected part of us. We clean up, we guard our reputations, we manage our schedules, but we leave our hearts exposed, open to doubts, temptations, resentment, harmful influences, and emotional wounds that slowly drain our spiritual strength. Returning to Allah cannot happen when your heart is cluttered with everything that pushes you away from Him. Healing begins the moment you decide to declutter the soul, to let go of grudges, to soften hardened wounds, to forgive what has lingered too long, and to make space for light. Guarding your inner world means being intentional about what you consume, what you watch, what you listen to, the people you keep close, the conversations you entertain, the desires you feed. Every influence shapes your heart in ways you may not see immediately, but you feel its effects in your peace, your relationship with Allah. Protecting your heart isn't an act of fear, it's an act of wisdom. It is choosing not to let temporary things poison what connects you to the eternal. Healing your inner world is a gentle, often slow process. It requires honesty, admitting where you've fallen, where you've drifted, where you've allowed pain to replace prayer and distraction to replace remembrance. It requires humility, acknowledging that you need Allah more than anyone, more than anything. It requires patience, because wounds of the heart don't heal overnight, and spiritual growth doesn't happen instantly. But every small effort, every sincere dua, every moment of reflection is counted by Allah. No attempt to return to Him is ever lost. And the beauty is that the lost, Allah does not expect you to come back perfect. He only asks that you come back sincere. When you begin to guard your hurt, when you take even one step toward healing, Allah multiplies that step. He fills the gaps you cannot fill yourself. He strengthens the weakness you cannot overcome alone. He brings calm to the storms inside you and clarity to the confusion around you. Returning to Allah begins with the quiet decisions you make daily, choosing prayer over procrastination, forgiveness over bitterness, remembrance over distraction, humility over ego, purity over temptation. These choices slowly reshape your inner world until your heart becomes a place where faith feels at home again. And when your inner world is guarded and healed, you begin to feel a peace that isn't dependent on circumstances, a strength that isn't tied to people, and a clarity that isn't shaken by hardship. This is the kind of transformation that pulls you back to Allah, not out of fear, but out of love. Not out of desperation, but out of longing. Not out of obligation, but out of recognition that He is the source of every comfort your heart has been seeking all along. Returning to Allah is not a destination. It is a lifelong journey. And every journey begins with the heart. Guard it. Heal it. And you will find your way back to the one who has been waiting for you with more mercy than you can imagine. Strength and peace come through surrender, not control, because the human heart was never designed to carry the weight of the entire world. Yet we try. We manage. We manipulate outcomes. We hold on tightly to what feels familiar, even when it drains us. We convince ourselves that if we just try harder, think longer, or push more, everything will fall into place. But the truth is, control is an illusion that exhausts the soul. The more you try to grip life with your own hands, the more it slips through your fingers. And the more you insist on doing everything alone, the more overwhelmed you become. There is a quiet breaking that happens inside when you reach the limits of your strength. You realize that no matter how much you plan, people will disappoint, circumstances will change, and life will unfold in ways you did not expect. This breaking isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign that your heart was never meant to be its own source of power. You were created to rely on the one who sees beyond your fears, who knows what you do not, and who controls what you never could. Surrender is not weakness. It is not giving up. It is letting go of the illusion that you can direct every detail of your life. It is acknowledging that your knowledge is limited while Allah's wisdom is infinite. It is realizing that your anxiety often comes from trying to control outcomes that were never yours to control. When you surrender, you stop fighting battles that do not belong to you. You stop carrying burdens that Allah never asked you to carry. You stop trying to force doors that He has closed for your protection. There is a deep, indescribable peace that enters your heart the moment you hand your fears to Allah. You begin to understand that what is written for you will always reach you, even if the entire world stands against, and what is not written for you will never become yours, even if you chase it endlessly. Surrender aligns your heart with reality. It helps you breathe again, trust again, hope again. It frees you from the constant torment of what if, and why me, and how will this work? When you surrender, you start living with clarity. You take action, but you do not obsess over the results. You make dua, but you stop demanding a specific timeline. You love, but you no longer attach your worth to people. You move forward, but you no longer fear what waits ahead. Allah becomes your anchor instead of your own plans. And when He is your anchor, nothing can uproot your peace. Strength grows when you surrender because you are no longer operating from exhaustion. You are operating from trust. You become resilient because you are supported by the one who never sleeps, never forgets, never fails. Your heart becomes stable because it is no longer tied to temporary outcomes, but to the eternal. You rise again and again, not because life becomes easier, but because your reliance becomes deeper. The storms of life will still come, but they will not destroy you anymore. You will stand firm because you have learned that surrender is not about letting life happen to you. It is about letting Allah guide you through it. It is about releasing what harms you, accepting what is written, and trusting that the path in front of you, even if it feels unclear, is leading you somewhere better. And slowly, you begin to recognize the beauty of surrender, the peace that arrives without explanation, the strength that appears exactly when you need it, the doors that open effortlessly, the burdens that lift without warning. These are signs that Allah is taking care of you because you finally allowed Him to. Strength and peace come through surrender, not control, because control is a prison, but surrender is freedom. Control drains the heart, but surrender heals it. Control blinds you, but surrender allows you to see the wisdom in every delay, every hardship, every detour. When you finally let go, you discover the truth your soul has been longing for. The safest place in this world is in the hands of the one who created it. And the strongest heart is the one that knows it does not have to control life to trust its direction. Your journey inward leads to spiritual elevation because every step you take into the depths of your own heart uncovers the very truths that bring you closer to Lu. We often look for growth in external achievements, in status, in recognition, in the approval of others, forgetting that the true transformation begins where no one can see. The inward journey is a sacred path, one that requires courage, honesty, and vulnerability. It asks you to sit with your wounds instead of hiding them, to face your fears instead of avoiding them, and to acknowledge the parts of yourself that you've tried to bury beneath business or denial. Spiritual elevation does not come from perfection but from awareness. When you begin to understand your own heart, the triggers, the weaknesses, the attachments, the desires, you gain the insight needed to reshape your relationship with Allah. The journey inward allows you to identify what is holding you back from Him, the grudges that weigh you down, the sins you're afraid to confront, the distractions that fill the spaces meant for remembrance, the attachments that have quietly taken His place. Going inward is not comfortable. It opens doors you've kept shut for years. It exposes the habits that harm you, the patterns that repeat, the wounds that need healing. But it is in this discomfort that growth begins. The more you understand yourself, the more you understand your need for Allah. And recognizing that need is the first step towards spiritual elevation. The inward journey also teaches humility. You see your flaws clearly, not to shame you, but to remind you that your strength, your guidance, and your healing come from Allah alone. When you acknowledge your weaknesses, you open your heart to His strength. When you admit your mistakes, you open the door to His forgiveness. When you recognize your limitations, you witness His limitless mercy. This humility softens the heart and creates space for light, wisdom, and serenity to enter. Spiritual elevation doesn't happen suddenly. It happens in small, quiet moments, the dew is whispered in the dark. It's the tears shed in repentance, the smile offered despite your pain, the decision to choose Allah even when it's difficult. These moments accumulate, shaping your inner world until you begin to feel a shift, a lightness, a clarity, a sense of connection you may not be able to explain. That is the heart awakening. That is the soul rising. And as your inner world transforms, so does your outer world. Your reactions become calmer, your intentions become purer, your interactions become softer. You stop seeking validation from others because you finally find it in your connection with Allah. You stop chasing the temporary because your heart begins to crave the eternal. You stop fearing the unknown because your soul rests in the certainty of Allah's wisdom. Your journey inward elevates you because it pulls you away from the noise of the world and draws you closer to the one who created you. It teaches you to live intentionally, to choose what nourishes your heart instead of what entertains it, to surround yourself with people who remind you of Allah instead of those who pull you away, to spend your time on what matters for your akhirah rather than what drains your dunya. The beauty of the inward journey is that it never ends. There is always more to discover, more to heal, more to refine. And with every layer you shed, with every truth you face, with every step you take, you rise spiritually. You grow in faith. You grow in trust. You grow in closeness to Allah. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this journey is realizing that Allah has been guiding it all along. Every struggle you faced, every heartbreak that opened your eyes, every disappointment that humbled you, they were all invitations to turn inward and upward. They were signs meant to redirect you to the path that leads back to Him. Your journey inward leads to spiritual elevation because it aligns you with your purpose, reconnects you with your Creator, and reminds you that the highest place you can ever reach in this world is a heart that knows Allah, loves Allah, and returns to Allah in every moment, quietly, sincerely, and completely. Only Allah can truly save, protect, and restore your heart because He is the one who created it, shaped it, and knows every corner of it, every fear, every wound, every secret, every longing. You may search for safety in people, in achievements, in relationships, in temporary comforts, but nothing in this world can hold your heart the way He does. People will try, but they will fail. Life will offer moments of relief, but they will pass. Even the strongest connections cannot reach the depths of your soul, because that space was designed for Allah alone. There are moments in life when your heart feels shattered by loss, betrayal, disappointment, or loneliness, and you look around desperately for someone to lift you. But you soon realize that human beings, no matter how loving, cannot heal what they cannot see. They cannot mend wounds they do not understand. They cannot enter the places within you that you yourself struggle to navigate. Only Allah can reach the pain buried beneath layers of silence, pride, or fear. Only He can touch what has been hidden for years, and only He can turn that pain into wisdom, strength. Allah protects your heart in ways you don't always recognize. Sometimes He removes people you begged Him to keep, not to punish you, but to protect you from a future you could not see. Sometimes He delays what you desperately prayed for because your heart was not ready or the timing was not safe. Sometimes He closes a door so firmly that you cry in confusion, not knowing that He is shielding you from heartbreak that would have destroyed you. His protection is not always visible, but it is always perfect. And when your heart breaks, He is the one who gathers the pieces with mercy so gentle that it humbles you. He restores your heart not by erasing the past, but by transforming it. He turns your tears into purification, your patience into elevation, your struggles into a path back to Him. What you lose for His sake, He replaces with something better. Maybe not immediately, maybe not in the way you expect, but always in a way that aligns with His wisdom and your ultimate good. The world may push you to seek healing in distractions, in escape, in numbing the hurt. But your heart will always return to its Creator, because that is where it finds true peace. Healing comes when you let Allah in, when you speak to Him in the quiet hours of the night, when you hand Him your fears, when you tell Him the things you cannot tell anyone else. In those private conversations, your heart softens. It softens. It remembers that it was never meant to carry the weight of life alone. When Allah takes over your healing, you stop rushing the process. You stop expecting instant relief. You stop demanding that life look the way you want it to. Instead, you begin to trust His timing, His plan, His promises. You begin to see setbacks as protection, delays as preparation, and challenges as invitations to grow closer to Him. Only Allah can save your heart from the things you cannot escape, your own thoughts, your own weaknesses, the whispers of doubt, the heaviness of sorrow. Only He can give you tranquility that does not break when circumstances change. Only He can fill your emptiness with purpose, your fear with trust, your confusion with clarity. And when He restores your heart, the change is profound. You begin to walk differently, not with arrogance, but with serenity. You love differently, not with desperation, but with boldly. You hope differently, not with attachment to outcomes, but with confidence in Allah's wisdom. You rise from pain with a heart softer, wiser, and more rooted in faith than before. Every journey, every heartbreak, every turning point leads to this truth: no one can save you but Allah. No one can protect you the way He can. No one can restore what life has broken except the one who owns your heart entire. And the moment you truly realize this is the moment you finally feel safe. Because you place your heart not in the hands of the world, but in the hands of the one who never fails, never leaves, and never stops loving you.